Good morning. And welcome to St. Paul's Universalist Church. It is good to be with you as we start a new church calendar year. The weather, despite the fact that it's still summer, fall, you can feel it, and I appreciate Mother Nature coordinating with me for the responsive reading later in the service. You'll see what I mean when we get to it. In the way of announcements, today is, as our tradition here at St. Paul's, is our water communion. If you didn't bring any water, no problem. We have some right here. The other thing I would call to your attention is this. Can people hear me? There we go. All right. Boy, It's amazing what half an inch does. Every couple of years, Mark and I plan out the church year every year in the middle of the summer. But every couple of years, we like to change things up a little and keep others the same. So you will notice some minor changes to the order of service, new words for the lighting and extinguishing of the chalice, and most notably, where the offertory is in the service. Nothing major, but when the joys and sorrows are concerned, and you're like, wait a minute, he didn't announce the offertory. That's why we're switching it up just a little bit. Let us proceed to our musical call to worship.
Holy waters, bathe us in forgiveness. Holy waters, wake us to the power. Holy waters, wash us in the mystery. Holy waters of ocean, stream, and shower. Holy waters, make us new. Holy waters, make us whole. Holy waters, make us free. Holy waters, make us one.
As we enter into a new church year, let us renew both our commitment and our covenant. In the time since we were last together, there are those among us who have endured a loss. May their hope be uplifted again in this community of faith. There are those among us who have struggled with hardship. May they find renewed strength in this community of faith. There are those among us who have wrestled with questions that seem to have no answer. May they find sanctuary during their search in this community of faith. There are those among us who have cherished an unexpected joy. May their rejoicing be celebrated in this community of faith. And as we commit to continue our free and responsible search for truth, may we covenant to honor the many paths that have led us to this community of faith. Please join me in the new words we have starting this September for the lighting of the chalice. We light this flame, symbol of our faith, to beckon us into community, warm our hearts with love, and give us a light to follow as we carry our faith into action. And our opening song is 1046. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another and with our God.
Waters ripple and flow, drifting to the sea, gently falling stream, ever calling to me. Gently falling stream, ever calling to me. Waters ripple and flow, rushing to the sea. Rivers deep and wide, ever calling to me. Rivers deep and wide, ever calling to me. Listen to the river, listen to the sea, joining with the earth in a song of peace, joining with the earth in a song of peace, in a song of peace, in a song of peace.
'We are now at the time of the service where we share joys, sorrows, and concerns. Before I forget, I have a combined joy and concern. This is for Mary Davis, longtime member of this congregation. She celebrated her 85th birthday this week. She's also in the hospital in Utica. I believe they had her scheduled for surgery Friday, but Justin told me they pushed that off to Monday. I'm going to try to get out and see her this afternoon. So happy birthday and prayers for Mary.
"68 years ago, Marty and I stood right here and we were married. I couldn't ask for a better friend, husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Happy anniversary, Marty. Love you.
Here it is.
And this is a special thank you to Julie and Steve, Tricia and Kevin. They took us out to the Tyler Manor, just right outside of Waterville, and we had a wonderful anniversary dinner hosted by the two daughters and husbands. Thank you so much.
I wanted to light the candle in honor of my wife's favorite aunt, Aunt Paula. Paula Guilfoyle died this week after suffering with dementia for a long period of time, but she was She was an incredible person, and we'll always remember her. She was very devoutly Roman Catholic, and her husband is very, very much an evangelical Protestant, and neither of them understood Unitarianism very well. But I think that a person is alive as long as they're remembered, and in a particular way. And I think that Paula will be remembered by everybody who knew her for the rest of our lives.
Julie celebrated a birthday on August 27th, and on that day, we also learned that we are going to be grandparents of a baby boy.
You don't look old enough to have grandchildren. No, don't like snort. It's like I don't.
Well, let's see. Just got back yesterday from a lovely vacation in the Thousand Islands, where I haven't been for over 40 years, and it had a lot of memories, very sad, and this week was making a lot of happy memories. I celebrated a birthday on Tuesday, and it was a happy time, and can't believe 75 years. Anyway, that's my happiness. Thanks.
And those birthdays, they flare up about every 12 months. As is our tradition, we light a final candle for any joys, sorrows, or concerns that go unspoken but remain in our hearts and minds. I now invite you to join me in a time of prayerful meditation. These are the words of Kyle Johnson. Mystery of the universe, you who some think of not as a being among other beings, but as the very ground of being itself. Thank you for this day, for another sunrise, another chance for us to witness the wonders of creation. We know that yours is a creation that is truly double-edged, a yin-yang universe. For it is indeed one in which the life-giving flame can also burn. But it is also one in which the dark, cold, misting rain gives rebirth to spring. And it is one in which, paradoxically, our acquaintance with pain and sorrow can help us to better appreciate pleasure and joy. Help us then to have the courage and strength to embrace all of it, to embrace what is. Help us, we who are similarly double-edged, whose love for those closest to us can so easily provoke our own tribal instincts and prejudices, whose own pain, rather than fostering empathy and compassion, may turn us inward, to dig moats, to build walls rather than bridges. So help us to embrace this double-edged yin-yang universe with courage and with strength, but above all, help us to do so in a spirit of love and compassion. For this, it seems, is our eternal challenge, as it is also the wellspring of our eternal salvation. Amen. Let us now share a moment of silence where we listen to the wisdom of our hearts and minds. receive the morning offering to support the work, the wonder, and the witness of this community.
Rejoice in love, we know and share, in love and beauty everywhere. Rejoice in truth that makes us free, and in the good that yet shall be.
Please join me in response of reading number 729. The winds of summer. You and I, and all of us, blew about with the winds of summer. Finding rest in the cool stillness of shadows, and moving to the slow, heart-struck rhythms which turned the long hours of summer light.
Now is the time for gathering again. We come together at this time, and in this place, on the bridge of love.
Summer is fading backward into memory, and winter waits in snowy brilliance.
Needing the eagerness of the light, needing one another for sharing.
We have joys and sorrows and hopes to share, questions, things we care about and want to help make better.
Things that we would like to understand, ideas waiting to be heard.
Today we are together in gladness, once more the special community that we call our church.
A community of all ages that sings its songs, tells its thoughts, asks its questions, and searches together with courage and love.
Please join us in our next song, number 92. 5 Jagged Stones of Unitarian Universalism, and it is adapted from a sermon by Krishna Gottfried. Unitarian Universalism can trace its early roots to the Judeo-Christian tradition, interpreting their stories through an open-minded perspective, seeking universal meaning in those ancient texts. One of the more well-known is the tale of David and Goliath. Goliath, a massive Philistine warrior, taunted the Israelites to send someone who would dare to battle with him. The young warrior David came forward, and he knew that even with all the armor in the world, he would not be able to win against Goliath by strength alone. And so he picked up 5 smooth stones and put them in his bag along with a sling. As he approached Goliath, David took the stones and slung them at Goliath, striking him on the forehead and killing him with one shot. Even if you never set foot in Sunday school, we all understand the reference when someone says David versus Goliath. In the centuries in which our faith has expanded outside the boundaries of tradition of Judeo-Christianity, our tradition has likewise expanded where we find our inspiration. Universalism, which initially meant a belief in universal salvation, is now sometimes interpreted to mean that we find universal meaning from all religious traditions. We come to understand that life embraces multiple truths, speaks in terms not of either or, but of both and. Many of our rituals, for example, are influenced by paganism, emphasizing the embodiment of our faith, living fully as our best selves, and respecting the earth and its inhabitants. Buddhism guides us to be mindful, disciplined, and present, focusing on our actions and intentions to improve the world. Feminist and liberation theologies from various religious traditions remind us that we are a prophetic faith, not complacent in the face of change, but rather pushing beyond our comfort zones to challenge the status quo and address our role in oppression. One of the things I like most about Unitarian Universalism are the connections that we draw from other religions and how those truths in turn connect to our personal truths. Getting back to David and Goliath, how can we view that story through the lens of Unitarian Universalism? The well-known theologian and Unitarian minister James Luther Adams used the story of David and Goliath, focusing on the 5 smooth stones that David carried, to articulate what he called the 5 smooth stones of the liberal religious tradition, the beliefs about what it means to practice faith in a responsible, progressive way. Because although we are, from a strictly numerical perspective, a small denomination, we have it in us to have a big impact on the world. But where does our theology lie? What can we point to when asked not only what we believe, but what the bedrock of our faith is? Whereas Reverend Adams spoke of the smooth stones of the liberal faith, today I'd like to talk about the 5 jagged rocks of Unitarian Universalism. That term is based on the writings of the Reverends Nancy Bowen and Mike Moran. They wanted something that could build on our 7 principles, but with more of a focus on connecting them to a declaration of our faith. Instead of the smooth stones created by Adams, they chose to recognize a faith that is dangerous and not always smooth going. They conceptualize stones that are jagged to represent the idea that we are not perfect, theologically or otherwise. We're rough around the edges in places, but that doesn't make us any less valid. The first of the 5 jagged stones, and these are in no particular order, is the belief that there is a unity that makes us one. In essence, we believe in the interconnectedness of all things. This rock symbolizes our freedom to express our theology. Some may refer to this connection as God, the spirit of life, or the universe's mystery. Our fourth principle encourages a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, while our third principle emphasizes that our spiritual growth is supported by acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. The second jagged rock is that all souls are sacred and worthy. This reflects our first principle, which affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Yes, even that neighbor that drives you crazy next door. But it emphasizes something greater than just intrinsic ethical goodness. You have probably at some point, if you have attended UU services, heard Thomas Starr King's famous quip, "Universalists believe God is too good to damn people, while Unitarians believe that they are too good to be damned." This rock symbolizes that our sacredness and worth are connected to something beyond the individual. We don't necessarily concern ourselves with whether someone is damned or divine. What matters is that they are here. Declaring that all souls are sacred and worthy is a radical statement, and not one that's always easy to live up to. When we proclaim that people are sacred simply for being alive, without focusing on things like the color of their skin, their immigration status, who they love, who they are, or how they move, we are living out that theology as Unitarian Universalists. The third jagged rock, courageous love transforms the world, is deeper and wider than just love. When the Beatles sang "All You Need Is Love," they were referring to courageous love. Unitarian Universalists strive to side with love, and that makes all the difference. Despite our many shortcomings, we keep trying. We rise again and again, always on the side of love. We try to be a justice-seeking faith, constantly reaching for what some scriptures refer to as the beloved community. How do we create that? With courageous love. Not love for oppression or hatred. Because while we must recognize that all souls are sacred and worthy, it's challenging when some souls don't acknowledge the sacredness and worthiness of our souls. It's far more important to focus on loving each other and the promise of our shared liberation. And doing that is what's going to help transform the world. The fourth rock, I think this is my favorite rock. Truth continues to be revealed. Our revelation in our denomination is not fixed, it is not sealed. Our beliefs as a faith community have evolved throughout history and will continue to do so. We are one of the most transformative faiths because we are defined not by a single creed, but by how we choose to be in covenant with each other. This covenant has changed, will change, and continues to change over time. Our principles, which were a key aspect of Unitarian Universalism, were only adopted in 1960. And the seventh principle concerning the interdependent web of existence was added in 1985. Science, one of our 6 sources, teaches us that there's always more to learn about life, the universe, and ourselves. As a species, we are constantly discovering, adjusting our hypotheses, and changing our realities. This is truth for our understanding of ourselves and the world. And so it should be also true for our faith. Freedom and tolerance have been central to our tradition since at least the Reformation. But we might wonder if the many famous Unitarians and Universalists we claim as ancestors would sit here today and claim us too. If they were to sit here and attend a service, they might be surprised to learn during coffee hour that some congregants aren't even sure if they believe in God. Such is the journey of our faith, ever-changing and ever-growing. As Universalist Edwin Markham once wrote, he drew a circle to shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. I drew a circle and took him in. The Unitarian and Universalist merger demonstrated that our faith and its beliefs appeal to many. By continuing to expand our circle, embracing those at the margins, and revealing truth as we discover it, our love and faith can only grow stronger. Salvation in this life. This comes from our Universalist roots, and it might be the most radical of the jagged rocks. While many other faiths hold beliefs about an afterlife, Unitarian Universalists recognize that no single belief is guaranteed to be true. Those are matters of faith. Each individual has their own understanding. But what matters more to us is how we live our lives. Whether we go to heaven or are reborn, cease to exist, or our fate is predetermined or determined by our actions, may be secondary to the importance of our present actions and how we live. The question is, what can we do now? How can we improve the world, not for some future reward, not because our current lives, but because our current lives depend on it? Because our liberation is intertwined. Because we are connected. And when one of us suffers, we all suffer. Because none of us are truly free until everyone is free. Our salvation in this life is only possible if it includes everyone. That's universalism. We must come together and share that light. And that is the essence of the beloved community. Back in 1790, when the Universalist Convention in Philadelphia adopted an anti-slavery resolution proposed by Dr. Benjamin Rush, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, they were striving for salvation in this life. When American Unitarians traveled to Europe and risked their lives to help Jews and other refugees escape the Nazis, they were striving for salvation in this life. When Reverend James Reeve and Viola Luiso were killed in Selma after traveling there for the civil rights movement, they too were striving for salvation in this life. And the work continues today. As Unitarian Universalist congregations around the country decide to provide sanctuary to refugees, seek economic equality, advocate for climate justice, promote religious freedom, all of those things and more, they are fighting for salvation in this life. And there have been many, many times in our history and today where we have not done the right thing, where we have forgotten about what we're all working towards. But the Unitarian minister Theodore Parker said it best when he said, "Look at the facts of the world. You see a continual and progressive triumph of the right.
I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. But from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice. And that moral arc bends that way, as it always has, because there are people who are bending it. People just like you and I, who are bending it towards justice because we see it as our duty to help heal the world, to fight for salvation in this life. We are a community of thinkers and seekers. We are heretics, a term derived from the Greek word meaning to choose. And we have chosen how we want to relate to each other, where we draw our wisdom from, and what we believe, guided by our 7 principles and 6 sources. And for your consideration, the 5 jagged stones. We are a radical, liberal, and theologically rich faith tradition. Just as David used his smooth stones to aim his sling at Goliath, we are called to use our jagged rocks to bend the arc of the universe towards justice. And may it be so. Let us now enter into our water communion with song number 136. The ancient Greek philosopher, Heraclitus of Ephesus, is famous for one belief. He taught his students that change is certain, and because things always change, he declared, we can never step twice into the same stream. So too, our congregation today differs from the congregation that gathered here a year ago, and the year before that, and the year before that, and so on. And yet last year is still in our collective memory, and the year before, and the year before that. It is our tradition to mix in some water saved from our previous year's water communion, adding it to this year's gathered waters. In that way, the past is carried on with the present. Our past is always with us. A portion of the water in this bowl was gathered in our first water ceremony. The waters that we add today will in turn connect us with the future. If you didn't bring water, that's okay. We have some up here. If you're anything like me, you get about halfway back from a place where there was water and you're thinking, I should have brought some with me. That being said, at this time, I invite anyone who wishes to do so to come forward and share their water or add to the water from the pitcher and share their stories from this past summer. And this will help you tell us all about it. Don't pour the water on that.
That was water from Julie's house where we celebrated Marty's 90th birthday, and also from my house where we had the baby reveal, and also our anniversary.
This is another year that I didn't travel anywhere except to a Cracker Barrel last weekend. But I was happy to stay in Little Falls. It's such a beautiful place, and since I had cataract surgery, the colors are even more vivid.
This represents the water in my brand new kitchen that Steve worked hard to renovate, and the tears of joy for the arrival of my new grandson.
This water symbolizes our trip that we're taking in 2 weeks to Maine, to the ocean, and also the week spent with Ryan, Tom, and Nolan and Sarah. We went to Inlet and hiked around Moss Lake.
This represents the water of the Ausable River near Whiteface Mountain, where Mike and I gathered with family and we enjoyed each other's company, and the playground of the Adirondacks.
This water represents 2 kayak trips that we made this summer. We did a real nice one. My son was visiting on Pine Lake. And then just last week, we did a early morning paddle all the way around Oxbow with 3 ladies that were all in their 80s. We were the youngsters.
Off the top of my head, that water represents the torrential rain that fell while Dawn and I explored the town, it wasn't a city, of Hobart, which is an odd link of a town, but it has 8 bookstores. Pretty awesome. Also, the waters of Boston Harbor. We didn't get to see them much, but we did get to visit our son Mac and his girlfriend Miriam, who moved into an apartment. And as I was saying to Don on the way to church, he's like 95%. Like if you cook into an adult, he's like 95% done. It's like he's almost ready to come out of the oven. He's saying things like, "No, Mom and Dad, you take our bed. We'll sleep on the air mattress." I mean, things like that. That's wow. And then from there, we made a whirlwind tour up to 3 days in Vermont, in Lake Champlain, of course, Burlington, and that's always fun. We didn't see Champ, but probably just as well. May the waters gathered here remind us what each of us brings to this community, and of the waters that nourished us before we were even born, that continue to give us sustenance and energy for our life journeys and that of all creatures who walk the earth. And our closing song is number 1007.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
Close our service with the words of the Reverend Sophia Betancourt. We are in control of what we do with our daily living. If we, each one of us, represent a missing remnant of the fabric of our collective future, then together we can lean into a possibility that we have yet to fully experience in human history, a collective wholeness, an unassailable good. So immerse yourself unapologetically in what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist in these days. Then go out into the world and live knowing that your faith matters. All right, let's try out these new words for extinguishing the chalice. Please join me. We extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together.